Okay. Hi, Jure, and hi, Uroš. We are now all at home behind the computers and looking back to what was going on through the first leg of mini Transat. Yeah, what I would recommend is to Jure to give us the big picture view, and from Uroš what was going on down at the sea level on his Ashika 2 boat. So we are at the start in Le Sable d'Olon, and yes, it was a conservative start from Uroš, which I didn't expect, but was super glad to see. So because it was quite hectic. And yeah, why don't you uh, tell us what you saw, Jure?
Well, I was lucky enough to be on the water, and I saw the start as well. So there were this I would say southerlies, southeasterlies, and actually Uroš was the only one sailing A5. All the other guys were sailing code zero, and that's why Uroš was positioned on the right side of the fleet, so looking in the direction of movement. So Uroš, what was your reason to start with the A5?
Yeah, idea is simple. I'm with the code. I'm just not as fast as the new protos. I mean, they're made for reaching. So with the code, I cannot really cope. But with the A5, especially if the winds are lower, I mean, not as strong, I can be even faster. But the winds were a little bit more southerlies than expected and a little bit stronger than expected. So it didn't work quite as I hoped it will. I mean, I started low under the group. That was my plan because I knew I'm gonna go lower, but it was too low and the wind was too strong. So my tactic didn't really work. But once I started to make a change, especially in my boat, it's a big deal from speed to code because I have to fold the bowsprit, put the coat on the half of the bowsprit, switch the halyards, and it's a big deal. And I would lose quite a lot, especially when I was under the group. It was just not an option for me.
If we go back a little, I skipped a big thing. How is it to be on the start of such a race after uh, a year and a half of super short notice preparation and everything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was glad. I knew I had everything in the boat, and actually everything worked. So that was good enough to be happy, and let's just do that.
Good to hear that. And yeah, let's continue on. What was the second big thing in your opinion, Jure?
So I would say that sorry, I would say that actually the forecast was in a way pretty good until the Finisterre. So there were quite some changes in the wind. So here we are coping with the easterlies, which are consequence of the high over the Europe. And then there were southwesterlies coming with the fronts until the Finisterre. There were actually three fronts crossing. Actually, this is the time of the first one. And then there is this famous Wednesday front coming, which was the reason to delay the start. And so, like just like here on the video, we could see that there were quite some transitions in between, and these transitions did probably require quite some sail changes. Didn't Wasn't it like that, Uroš?
Yeah, I mean, we went from this high reach to downwind, and then for some upwind, and again to high reach, which then transformed into downwind again. So yeah, it was a lot of sail changes, which again on my boat is not perfect because it's not made for fast maneuvers. But again, I mean, it was mostly everything was quite as we planned, so there was much surprises. It's just hard to stay in completely in touch with the fastest boats, but I think I hold them close enough that it was all by the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for this tracker, it looks like it's really crowded out on the sea. How much do you see the other boats in reality?
Yeah, that's one thing that it's never really clear. You have to know. I mean, especially for me with a carbon fiber boat, my signal VHF and AI signal is quite bad. So you see maybe boats that are maximum 5 miles around you, and so that are neighbors and nothing else. You have no idea if you're on the left and the right side of the group. It varies from the boat to boat. Some boats have really good signals and they can see everything. But yeah, that's also one thing I have to fix. I have a carbon wind right next to my VHF antenna, which ruins everything. And I have a really bad signal, so I mostly just see a neighbor boat, and I have no idea on which side of the group I am, or where they're, if they stop in front or something like that. I don't see that. No, definitely not.
Sorry, Jure, I interrupted you.
No problem. So I would say that up to the waypoint, everything was more or less expected, and now we are in the time when there is a transition to the next. Actually, this was the first day front, and so far the weather forecast was good. So and the fleet was approaching Finisterre. And before the start, the idea was to get around the Finisterre in a way as close as possible, because there was actually that's still remaining of the Wednesday front. Sorry, and then there is the next one coming just in few seconds. So yeah, to stay as close as possible to Finisterre. And this is actually the moment where Uroš started to diverge a bit from the plan, and when I actually got a bit nervous, and the reason for that was so that's not yet the case. So in my opinion, let's say at this time you should already start tacking down toward the Finisterre, but you just continued, and that was the reason. Actually, I got a bit nervous. So Uroš, what was the reason for this let's say deviation from the plan?
Yeah, the missing information is that when I start sailing away from the coast, I discovered the hole in my Jeep. So I had to take the Jeep down as soon as possible because I didn't want it to tear all the way through. And the time when I was doing it, the wind actually came. It's not that obvious on the screen because the front came a little bit sooner, and we are already in like 30 plus knots of wind. And I was spending time inside the boat, making repair on my Jeep because that inside was the only place that wasn't completely wet. On my storm Jeep and mainsail, doing really bad upwind. And also when I did the repair, I decided to stuck with the storm Jeep as long as I'm at least close to normal speed because I wanted the repair to get as dry as possible. So I really didn't want to hoist bad repair in 30 knots and destroy the Jeep all the way through. So if you look at my tack angles, they're really horrible. But I've decided that this is gonna be the day that I don't care about the result. I just want to get my boat back in the perfect condition and to keep the Jeep to use it after as normal. So you can see my tacking angles are really bad, and I spent most of the time inside the boat, which was quite an interesting experience. I mean, it feels like being inside of a shaker or something.
Yeah, this is something what I can imagine. So like
Yeah, the strongest winds were over 38 knots here, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And then probably quite some nasty waves.
Yeah, waves were I don't know 4 meters, over 4 meters, some say, and quite short, so they were breaking, and there were a lot of like quick drops, bad noises from the boat. For me, it was easy. I had a storm jeep. I sailed with the speed, so the boat was as stable as possible, which means I did a really bad upwind angle, and
So, but
also even if it
sorry,
looked
sorry,
like I'm on, yeah.
so like speaking about 35, 38 knots. Like, was that manageable? Because the reason why the start of the race was delayed was due to the Wednesday front. So this is I believe the first day front. So the forecast for the Wednesday front was 42, 45 knots. Like
It's not.
actually in this front you were not that far from hitting 40. So was it manageable or
Actually, wind is not that big of a problem. The bigger problem was the wave. If the waves would be normal long waves, it would be no problem whatsoever. But the problem starts when, yeah, a lot of boats get some damage or something, and then it gets interesting and hard to repair and dangerous situations when you can fall out of the boat or something like that. So that's main reason why they're trying to avoid this kind of situation. It's not that Mini cannot sail 40 knots. No, definitely not. It's with the storm jeep and reefs in the main, it's stable. I mean, I was on the autopilot all the time since I was doing repairs, and it sailed quite well. It wasn't a problem. The problem is the short wave and, of course, the direction of the wind. I mean, upwind is the worst possible way to go in that kind of conditions. That's it.
okay? So, but then we come to the actually the first the leading pack of the boats were doing quite well in the around Finisterre, and that was the time when you actually gained some distance on the in negative sense, of course, on the leaders. Um, so, however, but you know that perhaps that was also I would say. The lucky moment because the leaders were somehow pushed toward the Portuguese coast, and as we have seen later on, the wind dropped quite substantially along the coast. So the fact that you were actually getting into sailing along the Portuguese coast a bit offshore is somehow helping. Was actually beneficial to you. So at this point, looking from outside, the situation didn't look very promising, and because the leading pack was sailing somehow in the stable northeasterlies. But you are saying that this weather analysis are a big wrong, that actually there was more wind outside. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was quite easy. After I finished there, I decided to start the race again. I mean, start new. I knew that there's more than 2/3 of the way to go, and that all the weather forecast that we had before the start and here, and we will have to do our own from here on. So yeah, my decision to go out was quite simple because I had this tag when I was going out, and the wind was picking up, and I was really close to ram line, and there was really no special reason to go in, especially when, yeah, wind was just picking up, and I got better and better speed. So decision to go not to go all the way under Portugal was quite sure, and yeah, it made quite a big difference. Yeah.
So at this stage, I was doing some routings, and I would say around this position, or perhaps some hours later, your westerly position was quite okay. So the like at this point your estimated time of arrival to Palma was somehow like 8 hours slower than the leading pack. However, the winds really dropped quite substantially on the east, so the boats on the east, and not that much for you. And after 24 hours, you were just 3 hours behind the, let's say, the first boat. So actually, this is the proof that the weather forecasts can be really wrong in the weak wind conditions, and that was very likely the case. So actually, here you were gaining and really catching up the leaders. So here you came to the 6th place, and in a, I would say, really good position. And this is the time when you actually entered the northeasterly, actually the trade winds, in a quite good position. The only problem here is that you had to go that actually you repositioned to the east side of the fleet, and the other guys went west, so you somehow changed the position from the most westward boat. You get into the most eastward boat, and like I was discussing with Andras for some time. So actually, what made you making so?
Yeah, again, I had no idea that I was the westerly boat before, and I had no idea that I'm in the easterly boat after that. I did hear the ranking. At some point, I was behind, and at this point, one day I was like on 4th or 5th place, which told me that my decision to go west was probably the one that did it. But we had a weather forecast that said we lost the screen with the weather forecast that said that there's gonna be high over Madeira and connected with this ridge to Portugal coast, and then up to this high in the north. And I kind of didn't want to fall into that high pressure system, so I was running away from it, and that meant going a little bit more to the east.
Yeah, so I would just point that you know, looking at the weather situation um, in your armchair is much different than being on the boat. And so yeah. So, and then from here on, I would say you did just well, and in a way you were a bit lucky that the front runners came during the night, where the winds are dropping in front of Palma, so you were able actually to do a really nice recovery. So the final distance to the first boat is less than 3 hours, which is like, looking at you at Finisterre, I wouldn't put my money into this bet. So I believe that you really did a very good job. So and actually, I'm looking forward for the next leg.
Yeah, I mean the last part was quite simple. It was just VMG downwind. It was a bit harder because the waves were quite weird. We had this big wave from north northwest, and then this small choppy wave from the wind that we were sailing, so northeast and even more east than northeast. That's also something that changed. I think changed the sailing on the front of the front group, is that all the forecasts that we were getting on the water said are really strong northeastern winds, and at Palma they said that we should have like over 30 knots of this. So we were all preparing for that, but that just never happened. We were always sailing this more easterly than northeasterly winds. And when we came to Palma, this no wind zone, I think, was a surprise for everybody, because we were really preparing for strong winds over 30 knots. We actually that we had prognosis that will be there. I mean, for the whole all the regions, west and east Canary region, and west and east Madeira region. They said that they're gonna be more than 30 knots of northeasterly winds. So we expected something different, and when we were sailing, we were all expecting this northeast. That just never happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So all in all, I believe that you are now glad to be on Palma and to have some rest and a few beers.
Oh yeah. It's very nice being here. It's extremely hot, not normal for La Palma. All the locals say so, but yeah, it's really nice to spend some time with sailors now. I think it's a little bit of magic of this race is that we come somewhere where there's not much people and we just spend time with each other. We share our experiences. You can't really feel any fight between us. We all share whatever we want, and there's no secrets or nothing. And I think that's something of a mini spirit. And yeah, of course, there are some beers involved. Come on, we're Slovenians. We have to do it like that, no?
Okay. Then one or two they don't hurt.
Yeah, you said one or two.
Congratulations, Uroš. It was joy watching the tracker and the big comeback. And
It was joy making it.
now 2 hours and 38 minutes to chop off across the Atlantic. So no biggie.
Yeah.
One or two, like
I mean,
you said.
I've learned through the first leg that I can push boat really, really hard. At some point, I think in downwind, I was as fast as the others and maybe even a little bit lower, which is a great news. It takes quite a lot of pushing of the boat, and I have to go a little bit over. I mean, I sail top speed in more than 20 knots now, 22, 23 knots. I still sail the top speed, which is a little bit over sail charts and everything, but since the boat was stable and at some points even on autopilot, I could sleep in these kind of conditions. I think that's a good news for the second leg, because we're expecting mostly just the VMG downwind and in similar conditions. So, and yeah, 2 hours 40 is actually nothing. Yeah, it's really good that we are so close. It's like, well, first half of the Proto group is really, really close, and it's gonna be a really nice race.
Nice.
Looking forward to that.
Can you both turn on the camera, just wave goodbye?
Yeah.
Now that
Sorry.
we are.
We had cameras off, so there was definitely a signal, because when we started with cameras, there was a bit of problem with us getting in some weird position and freezing.
So yeah, I see it's still day for you there.
Yeah, and it's dark. It's dark here in the Slovenian Alps. So
yeah, we have the best part of day now, because it's getting colder, but it's still light. So yeah, it's quite amazing here, and some really nice view.
Awesome. Looking forward to being there on the start of the second leg on the 28th of October with you. So
yeah, some work to be done on the boat before that. Be prepared
I'm
for
not
that,
looking
but
forward to that.
after that, yeah, you can enjoy the start.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. And have a good evening.
Thank you, Jure. Thank you very much for all the guidance. We need it. And yeah, see you next time.
okay, bye bye.